a television series of films that spanned decades from the 70s to the 2000s.
A genre is both defined and perfected, boiled down to a single word: Columbo.
How Star Wars is it?
Well, hello there, Mike.
Hi, Josiah, and hello, listeners.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the show. This is How Star Wars Is It? It is the only podcast.
Yeah, we looked, and we found that it was the only one.
Yeah, we logged into our Anchor account, and there was only one I saw. So
And
that's all I know.
Here on this show, we fancy ourselves a couple of critics. We like to review things, but we're not reviewing them from a traditional critical lens. Our lens is how Star Wars is it. So, like, imagine all things Star Wars, and you throw them all in a pot. The movies, the comic books, the books, the video games, TV shows. You throw all of those into a pot, and you boil that pot down into a Star Wars chili. That is a 10 out of 10 on our scale, the How Star Wars Is It scale. And we are comparing things to that perfect platonic ideal.
That's right. And not very many things have gotten a 10. In fact, only one thing has gotten a 10, and it was Return of the Jedi. It's perfectly Star Wars.
Yeah. So if you're listening at home, say for the first time, and you want to calibrate your Hesui meter, that's a 10.
Yeah, that's a 10. And then most things get like a 2 or 3 because they're not very Star Wars.
Right.
But this week, you know, I think that you said we are a couple of critics. I'd say we're maybe even a couple of investigators. We're sniffing down the clues.
Yeah, this is going to be a real sniff-heavy episode.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how Star Wars things are, much like our topic today tries to figure out crimes and how they and who did it and who done it. Yes. But we have
and who better to join us on our whodunit crime episode than understudy for Second City, creator of HitchCocktails, here from Jackbox Games, CJ Tuor.
Yay!
Wow, the fanfare. It's oh man.
Yeah.
Very excited.
We get those trumpets out only for our very special guests.
I gotta say,
CJ.
I'm very excited to be here. It's in beautiful How Star Wars Is It studios.
Yes. Yeah, so longtime listeners may remember CJ from the Thing episode, which I will say, I can't remember if there's been any return guest who, for both of their episodes, I had to acquaint myself with the topic. You essentially taught me what the Thing is, and you opened my eyes to what Columbo is.
Well, I mean,
so
to pull back the curtain a little bit, Mike and I do know each other from before the show. I'm not just some guest that he called up using his influence to get on the show. Yes. And one thing I know about Mike is he's 12 years old and hasn't watched any movies. So like, I do love to go. Well, we had to go before 1985. And we had to pull out something.
Yes. If it was so, I wanted just to tell you guys what year do you think the Thing episode came out?
Wow. Good question. I remember.
I mean, you'll be able to figure it out
because I know what game I was promoting then.
Well, and CJ and I talked about it before the show one night at the Den for the Matrix musical parody. So that was that couldn't have been 2018. 2019?
No.
2019.
2019. You're right. Yes, October 14th, 2019 was when the Thing episode came out, which is almost 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. Crazy.
Wow.
And I'll be
3.
I'll be here in another 3 years. So
yes.
Yeah, right. So you heard all of those many credentials there up at the top of the show, but as was true last time, when Jackbox released, was it called Press the Button, Push the Button?
Yeah.
Push the Button, which was very the Thing sort of adjacent in
played
flavor.
with my family during the pandemic. They did not understand it.
Were you the alien and thus used it to your advantage, or?
I don't think we played it a couple times, and I'm not sure if I was ever the alien. I don't remember, but it was one of those where like I got it, my little brother got it, my like sister got it to an extent. My parents just couldn't.
Yeah,
they were just a little too not like video game savvy to sort of understand what was going on.
No, yeah, we have games that are very new person friendly. Our intricate social deduction game, probably not one of them.
That's funny. I said this on the show before, but we played Faking It with my family, and the first thing that happened, my sister and I were both like, "You have to watch this. This is the instructions." And the first thing that happened was it was like, "All right, answer the question on your phone." And my dad was like, "Mine says you're the faker. Try to blend in. What does that
mean?" Well, thanks for
it means you lose, Dad.
Thanks for inviting me on your show to tell how ununderstandable our games are.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Can I say one more that I've told on the show before? And this is more just to roast my dad, because Mike, I don't know if you remember this, but so CJ, I'm not sure if you worked on this one or not, but the robot rap battle,
Madverse.
Right.
I can't remember. Yes, Madverse. I can't remember which pack it is.
It's the same. It's 5.
Okay. Yes. Is that the same one as Push the Button?
No, Push Button's one later.
Okay. So I introduced that to my family as well. We were trying to play it, and so we told my parents and like everybody. It was like basically it's sort of like you put in a couple words and then it gives you different prompts to make a rap, and so you have to rhyme, and you're like, so you're trying to rhyme whatever like the word it gives you, you're trying to rhyme it, and so we're all entering ours in. And my dad is taking forever. And like he barely gets it in under the wire. And I was just like, why is this taking you so long? Like you're just having to write a rhyme. Like you're like, I don't understand why this took so long. And so then it like goes to the cutscenes where it like mashes everybody up against each other and then you all vote or whatever. And my dad's comes up and it's the most like unhinged, meaningless word salad I've ever heard in my life. And it's because when we said you have to rhyme, he thought we meant you have to rhyme every single word.
Gotcha.
So it was like, instead of just rhyming the very end, it was like every single word rhymed with the previous word, and it still somehow made grammatical sense.
Wow.
Like it was
That's
nonsense.
Just so much effort.
It was definitely nonsense, but it was like a real sentence,
Real fast, is your dad Eminem? Was this the final verse of Rap God?
I was like truly impressed, and also I was like, what do you, and he was like, well, you said you had to rhyme, and I was like, yeah, but like you've heard a song before. Like that like not every word rhymes in every song. So I don't think that one's not on you guys, that one's on my dad. And also I guess us for not explaining it, but it was
At first, I was like, okay, well, you're kind of dragging our games. Now you're just kind of dragging your dad.
Yeah, now, this is a dad drag.
I've come all the way around, and I really appreciate your dad to keep playing these games with these experiences.
I know.
Sure.
I know. He loves it. He loves Jackbox.
Yeah, everybody does. No, and I want to thank you for having me on, and I am, here to promote a game, although unlike last time, whereas when I was promoting it, it had been kind of in the ether. If Mike does his job correctly, this episode will come out just days after this game is announced.
That's right.
Yes.
So as I'm talking to you
we'll
now...
be part of the press tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As I'm talking to you now in the past, this has not been announced, so you're going to hear this before anyone else. And I am trusting you not to release this until after Saturday, or I'll lose my job. So
don't worry, it will be good.
Okay, so the game that I am the editorial lead on in this pack, will be announced next. We were announced one. This is the second one announced. It is also the sequel in this pack. This is only the second time it will be a fourth in a series. It is Fibbage 4. So
yeah,
if you are familiar with the game Fibbage, it is a trivia game of which the final word is blanked out, and then you have to try and create a believable lie or fib in that place, and then also identify what the real fact is. Something special to this one is we will be doing video questions. We will have video setups. And really exciting, and I'm announcing this to your audience to invite them in, we are going to be asking for player submissions, aka if you've ever played Fibbage Fact, there's usually odd facts about somebody. Like a man in Denmark was arrested when they found 15 blank in his pants, and you have to do this. If you have such an anecdote about your life, we ask you to write into us and let us know what it is, and we may ask you to be in the game.
That's awesome.
So you can go ahead to the Jackbox website, the 54 thing, to find that. Once again, because this is recording before it's been officially announced, I can't give you the exact address because it doesn't exist yet. And hold on one second. My son just came into the room. He wants to say goodnight.
Hello, good night.
Good night. I'll say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do you want to see it? Bye. That's staying in the show.
Yeah, it's fine. Sorry, he didn't say anything. They could be thinking we're insane.
I'm not sure if I can say this
and
confidently, but I don't think we've ever had a younger guest on the show.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's 2.
Yeah, that's our youngest guest for sure. What is that, about 1.5?
And he's heard of Columbo, Mike.
Right as you started that sentence, I was like, there's going to be something here.
No.
He's seen all of it.
So let's finish real fast. So anybody who's listening to How Star Wars Is It, if you have an interesting anecdote, go to the Jackbox website, find the submission we went in. And I want to say, and I'll spoil it already, in the early testing phase, I asked Mike Gospel himself to make such a video.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he has already been submitted. He's possibly going to be in the game. We don't know yet. Whilst I am helping, as the editor lead, I'm not the director or producer, so I won't be choosing what videos go in. But
I see.
Cool. Very cool.
Yep. So anyway,
so editorial lead, is that down to editorial of like the written questions and things like that?
All the written material. Like we have a variety of writers. A lot of writers are going to write for the game. And it just kind of goes through me.
Yeah, got it.
And it's really about finding the voice of a game. And Jackbox is fairly famous for its comedic voice. Yeah. And with Fibbage, you have that fun thing of setting up the blank so it's something, it gives enough clues that people can think of something, but not so limiting that it can only be 5 things.
Like my guess for the Denmark in pants thing is something like chocolate coins.
Very good.
I was thinking fish.
Windmills.
I've completely made up this fact, so you can keep going as long as you'd like.
Okay.
Now, I might be conflating too, but wasn't there one that had like a sort of second offshoot version where it was like Fibbage about yourself?
Enough about you.
Fibbage
which
about
this
you.
one will also have.
Awesome.
We will once again,
cool.
So just like the previous Fibbage, there'll be a round where you can make up questions about you and your friends, and then it's kind of the same thing of like the first movie that scared Mike when he was a kid was blank, and then you'd write in the real
Little
answer, and all your
Mermaid.
friends would write in a fake one that your other friends would believe.
Right.
Was it Little Mermaid? Was I right?
Was it Chocolate
Is
Coins?
that movie? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
It
Factory?
was that one guy
Scary.
who melted
Scary.
chocolate coins from his pants.
Yeah.
Sounds
Am I
traumatic.
the Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
I was scared of Little Mermaid as a kid. That shit's scary. The little like things in Ursula's den, they're scary.
Yeah, the little
But so-
poor unfortunate souls.
We're sort of in the same way of the last kind of mistaken identity tie-in with the thing, or rather concealed identity. We are talking about someone who can famously sniff out a liar.
Yes.
He's got that nose for clues.
Yeah, and I picked this up because it was Fibbage, and I was like, oh, lying. You know what? Columbo is one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
So we're talking about Columbo, which ran on NBC, I want to say, right?
It might be ABC.
So
Well, it's on Peacock.
that's how I got it, was by watching it on Peacock.
It's on
originally-
Peacock now. Gosh,
Okay.
but you might be right.
Like NBC
Originally
Universal
aired on NBC.
might own it, but
It aired less frequently on ABC from 1989 to 2003. So at some point when they were doing TV movies, it moved over. And the only reason I remember that is during like the ABC like 50-year anniversary, there was a Columbo meets Alias sketch.
That is hilarious.
With Sydney Bristow?
She was in it. Her and Peter Falk sharing the screen as we roll the screen.
Is so good.
I didn't know that the best thing on television had already happened.
Yeah. I think you can find it on
sort of
YouTube.
all downhill. Oh my god.
So like I had mentioned, I had never seen this, and I you know what I also haven't seen is Murder, She Wrote, but like I'm trying to think of like sort of classic TV things that are like always on some kind of cable channel, and I feel like this is one of those, but like I certainly have seen maybe a dozen Twilight Zone episodes, you know, things like that, but man, I watched 4. I watched the pilot episode in the sense of the one you mentioned that Steven Spielberg directed, the first episode, as it were.
Episode that was called Columbo.
Yeah. And then I watched the 2 you mentioned, the magician one, You See Me?
Now You See Him.
Now You See Him. And then the one with Ruth Gordon, which she is
Catch Me.
a treasure. Yeah, Try and Catch Me. And then I watched what was the other one I watched? Oh, the one with John Cassavetes.
Etude in Black.
Yeah, so I googled like a list of the best episodes, and that was the number 1, and I was like, I'll watch that. It also had a pregnant Blythe Danner in it, so we can say, depending on your definition of personhood, that Gwyneth Paltrow was in Columbo.
Whoa. And she and here on How Star Wars Is It, we make a very strong stance that she was.
Gwyneth Paltrow was in Columbo. Nothing else about that debate.
Right.
But on the line.
Right, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That is how we define personhood, whether or not you were in Columbo.
Yes, yeah.
And Gwyneth Paltrow was in Columbo, so she was a person.
But yeah, so I felt like I did, I got a fair smattering sample size. You know, it's funny, after the Now You See Him, the next one in sequential order, the thumbnail had Robert Vaughn in it.
Oh. That is Last Salute to the Commodore. It is not good. It really breaks the formula.
So I started watching it, and I also was in bed, and it was nighttime, so I did fall asleep. Yeah. But when I Googled the list of like best episodes, I think the second one had Robert Vaughn in the thumbnail, and it was called something like...
Troubled Waters.
Yes, and I was like...
That's on the cruise ship.
Wait. Robert Vaughn is in 2, like... maritime episodes.
Yeah.
and the reason I even know who that is I am a huge fan, and this is where Josiah will know who I'm talking about, or at least think it's funny that I'm referencing this again. I'm a huge fan of a BBC con artist show called Hustle, and he's the old American man who's part of the crew of this British con artist team. So anytime I see him, you know, I know he was in Man from U.N.C.L.E. and all. I think he's in Superman 3 or Superman 4, one of those.
Superman 3.
And so anytime I see his face, I'm always like, oh, Hustle!
Hustle!
But I was dumbfounded that I was falling asleep during an episode I kind of couldn't really parse. And then I saw that was one of the best, and then I realized, oh no, it's just a different boat episode with the same guy.
No, and I know the titles of Columbo episodes because there's like a 4 or 5 series where I know the titles to them because I am old enough that when I was in college, I had them on DVD.
Wow.
And so if you had to know what episode it was, back in the day, you couldn't scroll through and see pictures. You had to know by title what episode everything was.
Sure.
So you could put in the right DVD.
That's wild.
Man, but for our younger listeners, DVD.
So structurally, I have
I want to do one thing real fast.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, I would love to do this because I am a fan of your show. I love the relating everything to Star Wars. Wonderful gimmick. You guys, masters of your craft. I always say it every time I talk about it.
Sure.
Can you right now write down the number of what you think it is, 1 to 10? Because my goal here is to talk it up.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So listeners, I'm watching it. They are like my child, hoisting the paper and pens up into their arms lovingly.
Okay, I didn't hear the last couple of things you said because my
no problem. I was just dictating that you are getting paper and pencils to write down numbers And I know you have another game coming up, and I'm taking
no,
over.
this is
but
excellent.
I also always feel like such a challenge of like how to try and
Can
make
you
the
make
argument.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know.
Okay, I have my number
we're-
written down.
Okay, I
So
know
we're writing
It's a
down the
gut,
number.
It's a gut reaction.
Right. Go ahead.
We're
go ahead.
writing down the number we think that we're gonna say at the end.
Right.
The
Right.
number you feel now, like the number
Feel now.
the number you feel
Which-
right now before we have this conversation.
Which, like, usually also is the number that we think we're gonna give it right at. You know, like
Yeah.
we bullshit around for like 70 minutes, and then we go, oh gosh, we have to give this a number.
Right. No. Like I'm sorry. You have invited.
We have
a
to-
gamifying man. So
Yes.
like, I want you to play the game.
If you look under the telephone,
Oh, no.
you'll
You know
actually
what's so funny?
see.
I can't remember if this was on a podcast or on a like Jimmy Kimmel or something, but Sarah Silverman talked about that trick.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so cute. And I did it one time when I was on a work trip that I was going to be gone for like a night or two. And I did 1 through 10, and I hid 10 things around our house. And I just like made a list on my phone of what each one was. And then like a day or two went by. Because I think maybe now that I say that, it was like a longer trip. And I texted Caitlin on like the second or third day and was like, pick a number between 1 and 10. It's such a fun, cute, like simple, harmless trick.
It is one of those things of like, how did you? And then just give it any thought, and you're like, oh right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't catch it during the show the first time. I was like, he's a wizard.
Yeah. So you talk about structure. So like, what is unique about Columbo, if you've never seen the show, is that it is not a whodunit because you know who did it.
Right.
You start watching the murderer do it.
Yeah, so that was my question. That was true of the 4 I saw, and I was wondering, like, is that just always the case?
That is the Columbo classic structure. That's why I like Last Salute to the Commodore. It's weird because it doesn't follow that structure.
Sure. Okay.
And there's a couple episodes that are like, well, once Columbo does like a undercover police story or something, and then like that. But the classic Columbo structure is you spend about the first 20 minutes to even maybe half an hour with the murderer. And Columbo doesn't come in until like the beginning of the second act. And the murder plot's a very intricate, usually very detailed murder, usually based around their profession.
Yes.
Right.
But very premeditated. Theatrical even.
Yes. Which we watched an episode, like, so Mike watched multiple. The one that I watched was Now You See Him, which was the magic-based one. So very based around his profession, for this one.
Yeah.
Like,
Misdirection.
His whole alibi depends on the fact that he was, quote unquote, like
Submerged
inside
in a tank
of
water.
submerged in a tank of water with only 9 feet of cubic air.
Yeah.
That'll last him like 9 minutes or something like that. So that's like his whole alibi.
Yeah.
And he does a couple of different magical tricks to like cement his alibi, including the one that we just mentioned of he tells the guy who to give himself an alibi that someone comes by to give him a drink while he's supposedly in the cube underwater, but is really backstage under the stage, I should say. And the waiter comes by and he's like, here's your drink. And he says, all right, well, we'll play a little game like we always do. Guess a number. And he says 4. And he's like, look under the skull. And it's a 4. And I was like, he's really magic. And then turns out it's just a fun trick that you can buy for $17.
He's using a microphone and a earpiece to make it seem as though he is there, but he's not.
Which is what they use in like psychic acts, or as they call them, head acts, where like the assistant is going through the audience and has the microphone. So when like the audience member whispers something to them, the magician has, or the psychic has something in an earpiece so they can hear. So he is talking with people as if he's in the basement, but he's walking around upstairs to commit the murder.
My favorite little sort of it's sort of it's not like a front and center detail, but it is a very critical detail for why he's committing murder in the first place. That he's a former Nazi. What a weird choice.
Okay, so once again, I was like, oh, I'll do Columbo, and I was like, what is the most Star Wars Columbo? And so first, I just went by year. I was like, what are audiences watching at home and then going out to the theater?
Like they that same week.
Last night, they saw their episode of Columbo, and now they're going out to see Star Wars. And that's 1977. Now, this one's actually 1976, so it's the year before. But it does feature magicians and Nazis, which felt very Star Wars.
Yeah, totally.
That is a great point.
It is a weird...
Magicians are... Jedi are magicians.
It did make me really think about, like, the public's taste in the 70s, because I mean, clearly, I kept going back to The Well. I really enjoyed watching Columbo, and I am probably going to keep watching it. It is quite slow by today's sensibilities of filmic storytelling, but you could say that A New Hope is fairly slow. It's like action packed, but like it is like a slow-ish movie. So like.
Compared
Pace
to action
probably
movies.
hadn't right like
and like
high like I'm thinking of in contrast The Rise of Skywalker. That movie doesn't take a breath, which is it's certainly one of its like biggest faults, but like that said, we today movies tend to have faster paces.
No, and it's
also
go ahead.
just to have something that's on TV that's like a TV movie kind of like I feel like is much rarer today. To have something that's like an hour and a half on just your TV is like, I don't know, not a made for TV series.
It's cool because I know it started as a play.
Yes,
and it does sort of present as such.
I'll give you the really quick history of Columbo's understanding, and it also kind of has a Hitchcock root. Is that kind of play was not uncommon. The most famous one Hitchcock did was Dial M for Murder, which is the same thing where you follow a murderer commit like the perfect crime, and then the last bit is just how is it undone. Like, and that was it, and that's kind of like that. So then they did this one called Prescription Murder. And Columbo was the detective in it, a little bit more featured than most detectives in those kind of plays, because it was more, and this carries on throughout Columbo, a cat and mouse game between the murderer and Columbo.
Right.
And like the mystery in Columbo is never who did it, and you know who did it. It's how is Columbo going to catch them? As you watch that murder, you're thinking, what mistakes are they making? What is this? And then as they have conversations with Columbo, Columbo is kind of roundabout with his conversation, and you're like, what's he getting at?
He's very like the sort of putting Colonel Nathan R. Jessup on the stand during A Few Good Men. Like he kind of like Tom Cruise kind of goes in a couple different directions, and you're kind of like, where's this headed?
But it's very non-confrontational, and I think it's one reason that I love it and a lot of people love it is it's very pleasant to watch.
He shows up as if by magic at every, like he's just in this person's life the entire time. But like, you're right, he is just sort of like having fun and chit-chatting.
He's so like unassuming. You know, he just comes in and he's just like, it's just chatting. He's just like making conversation.
He also does the best thing, the sort of like, the scene is over, I'm walking away, and then I turn and go, one more thing. So good.
Also, there was some like, I don't know, like when I was watching this, I was like, how much of this is supposed to be funny?
Oh yeah,
because it's a different sensibility because it's 1976. It's like older, it's slower, but there were some things that I was like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like this is a very funny joke to me. Everything with the coat in this episode was really funny because he got a new coat.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, my wife got me this new coat. And he's like, my wife got me this new coat.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Columbo, he has a classic, like, very bad beige coat. And this one, he has a very nice brown coat instead.
Yeah.
And he's just constantly trying to, like, lose it.
Which, it's like a meta joke at the beginning because he walks in and this cop stops him and he's like, oh, Lieutenant Columbo. And he's like, oh, I didn't recognize you. And he's like, I had a haircut. Yeah. And it's like, obviously, no, it's this fancy new coat that he's wearing. And then, he like goes out of his way to lose it constantly because he hates it. Like, he's like, it's too small. It doesn't look good. And everyone's constantly giving him compliments on this new coat. They're like, wow, it's a really sharp new coat. And he's like, oh, you think so? And I was like, this is really funny to me.
Well, Peter Falk is a treasure. So a lot of that comedy is sold. I love that because I love all the Columbo first gets on the scene thing is kind of puzzling through the crime. And this one has the great one of like, if he's standing here and he gets shot, he falls this way.
Yes.
So no, he goes to the door. He runs. No. And and that's kind of the same thing with the code. It's like, what? No, forget it. You know, like he's just like trying to like not talk about it. And
that type of murder mystery versus like cop procedural feels sort of like a fine line, but like if you start defining what the tropes are, they're basically two entirely different universes. Like he's doing like logic circumstantial things of like, why, if I opened the door for this person and I was shot, would I fall 6 steps back? You know, like it's it reminds me of like those 2-minute mystery books where it's like you're looking for a critical detail that it's like, it was a car wreck and they hurt the back of their head. And it's like, well, wouldn't they hurt the front of their head? Or, you know, like that kind of thing. And it's so delicious. Like, it's not like, oh, let's take it to the lab and see what the DNA is. It's just like, that's boring.
Although there was a lab there were plenty of bubbling beakers and test tubes.
That was this one. Oh man, were there bubbling beakers?
But what's funny is so they could investigate the lock on the door. Like they didn't use any of those beakers for that.
Yes.
I was like, the whole time I was like, what are these test tubes for?
Yeah, I loved that too. Like, that he made handcuffs with the same lock, and like that special door lock was picked by a lock picking master. So he challenges the magician on stage to pick essentially the same lock in the form of handcuffs, and he does it fairly adeptly. So he's already like, yeah, this is my guy.
Yeah.
Which there was a point in that where I was like, I think that the magician knows that Columbo knows in this moment, but he can't not pick the lock. Yeah. Because his like professional just his professional reputation is on the line.
He's on stage. He has a choice of picking it and incriminating himself further, or not picking it and looking like an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah, and humiliating himself as a magician who should be able to get out of any lock.
But once again, a classic thing of the Columbo Killers is their ego is what gives them away. They are usually they think they have crafted such a perfect thing because they are superior to all other men.
Right.
And thus their plan cannot be possibly foiled.
Yeah. Except by this just unassuming, just like sort of gruff little guy who just walks in and unravels the whole thing with little questions here and there. He's like a cute man. Yeah. I don't know, he was very cute.
I mean, this might be getting out a little bit, but my argument is that Columbo is basically Yoda. the way that Luke could not possibly think, well, this is not the great Jedi Master, of course. This is some weird little guy.
Found someone you have.
Yeah, like got a funny voice, and then he's just dropping stuff on him.
Yes,
he
I love that. Switch, which we just recently rewatched Empire Strikes Back. We did a commentary for the Patreon, and we both when Yoda goes from being kooky Muppet to he's not ready. We were like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a man's hand.
Yeah. I also just saw that part in Lego Star Wars, which is very funny because they have to truncate everything and make it very short. And so their version of Crazy Yoda is literally him just poking Luke over and over again, being like, and that's all he's doing is just repeatedly hitting Luke. And all of a sudden he goes, he's not ready. And I was like, good. Also very good.
What this sort of structure of seeing the murder happen first kind of does for me, you mentioned, it's sort of pleasant. It's like that thing, I don't necessarily have this, but I know like a lot of people relate to this of like reading the plot synopsis of a horror movie and then seeing it. And then they're like less like scared of the suspense aspect and like the jump scares might still get them, but like they feel armed. So like they're more at ease. And like this show, you're right. It is just like, wow, gosh, I could sit for 90 minutes and watch these two people talk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my patience for that is actually really high. Like, I love a chatty show. I love what do you call it? A battle of wits. Yeah, like a verbal battle of wits is just catnip for me. I could do that all day. And so Columbo's perfect for that. And once again, because Columbo is such a beautifully crafted character played by a really great actor, and there's some really fun guest stars. Like William Shatner plays a murderer, and like you said, Robert Vaughn. It's usually pretty like, I would say like B-list actors, but really a lot of people who are famous for their egos. It is somebody who want to see Columbo deflate a little bit.
Yeah. Didn't you say that the guy in this one played multiple murderers?
I watched one other one that he was the murderer in.
He was a great his little face. I was like, yeah, fuck this guy.
It's
man, he was a great murderer in that pilot episode, that first episode rather.
Jack Cassidy, who once again does a lot of TV. Columbo might be his most famous thing, like because he played the murderer 3 times.
But it's funny. A lot of people, I thought while I was watching that one, he's particularly handsome, that Jack Cassidy. But like a lot of people on shows in the 70s are super regular looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved that. Yeah. I was like, look at these bald heads.
Yeah.
No, Jack Cassidy's most famous thing is he married. Oh God, I can't remember her name. The mom from the Partridge Family.
Oh, okay.
And they have a kid, and their kid plays the son in the Partridge Family.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. But anyway, so what's funny is you said Robert Vaughn is in 2 water ones. Jack Cassidy's in 3 murder ones. He plays a magician. And the first one you saw, he plays part of a writing team. Right. And the other one, he plays a book publisher. So he has 2
hilarious.
Books.
You know, in that again, that first episode one, the writing duo wrote something like 15 books of a very like Miss Marple type character. I can't remember her name, but it's basically the same.
Oh boy, I could almost remember.
I think it also started with an M.
But God, that's gonna drive me crazy. But go ahead.
They one of the books we see at some point was called Prescription Murder.
Yeah.
I was like, how very Star Wars Easter egg of you.
Yeah.
So, something I texted Mike while I was watching was, I was like, you know what this is, this episode specifically, it's How In and of Itself Is It, which is that magic card counting show.
Yeah, have you seen
play.
That? It's a Derek Delgadio.
Yeah. I've only seen clips of it. I haven't seen the full thing.
Yeah. Well worth the watch, but I was like, the magic in this was like pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, because they could have tried to do camera tricks to do the magic, because I think like there's I guess maybe like temptation to do that when you're doing magic on film, but like all of it was pretty much just like a magic show, but it was on film. And I was like, nice.
There's a lot of hand doubles, so a lot of tricks are real. They're just, like they go to somebody else's hands for them.
Sure.
But boy, do I absolutely love the end where Columbo confronts him with the letter, and he's like, well, that letter burned, and he burns it, right? And it's a long shot, so he definitely did that. I know it's just like flash paper or whatever. But it's also such a wild move that he's trying to call Columbo's bluff that he doesn't actually have a copy of the letter through magic. And I love that moment so much.
Also, that's basically like, it's not a confession, but if you were like, well, we gave him the letter and then he burned it and said, now you don't have the letter, and you told me that in court, I'd be like, okay, well, this guy's guilty.
No, but he's banking on that Columbo's making that up. Like that Columbo knew there was a letter, but that he doesn't actually have a copy of it. So if you went to court, he'd be like, what letter? What? He just gave me a piece of paper.
Sure. That makes more sense than
Columbo had the special ball ribbon puncher from the exceptionally rare typewriter.
Yeah, I know. I love the episode. I do the last bit of evidence that nails him is contingent on an outdated piece of It is the equivalent if you were watching a mystery in 2005 and you're like, what you didn't realize is the victim had Foursquare turned on his phone.
Yeah. There's an entire...
His files are stored here on this Zune.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before in the show, but there's like a movie called Cellular starring like a young Chris Evans, I believe is what it's called. And like it's this whole thing where he has the big thing is how he's got the newest cell phone. And it came out, I got to see what year this came out, but like the big denouement at the end is that he has evidence to like stop these like criminals because he could record video on his phone. And it's so old-fashioned 2004. Yeah. 2004. So it's a 2004, like it's that same feeling of like it's like, oh well, this is a new technology. And if they'd waited like 2 years, it's like if that script had to come out right then, or else it wouldn't have made any sense at all. Same thing with this typewriter.
I did love it though, because it's so specific. Yeah. Like it felt very I love the view of the future from decades past. I love like the Star Disney Wars. Monorail. Yes, exactly. Star Wars. Like a lot of things from say the 70s or 80s that their sort of picture of the future still had really fat TVs. Yeah. And I love that.
Also, I love that the sort of like lieutenant that's been working with him, who's sort of like the young, like he's sort of like nebbish and kind of like, oh, I learned a lot from working with you last time, Lieutenant Columbo. I can't wait to work with you again this time. He's an incredible typist. Yeah. And he sits down and he knows everything about the typewriter. And he's like, oh, I learned about this at the Academy for typing. And he's like, what?
But that's also
you went to the Academy for typing?
When you get into it, like that is the Yoda switch of like Columbo around the magician's like, oh, I'm just asking questions. These things, should they just bother me? I'm not accusing you of anything, sir. But then when he talks to the lieutenant's like, well, we got the singer, and he's like, and then Columbo's like, the magician did it.
It was the magician.
I know. He's not giving him any bullshit. He's like, don't stop going down that line. It's the magician, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. This is a great episode. It's a great episode. And I might go watch some more Columbo too, because now I'm interested in
highly recommend watching the Spielberg one. It is also fun to watch early Spielberg direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really fun to watch. That one, the woman who runs the sort of like little convenience store in the resort town, like she's great. Like that was an excellent episode.
Why did I think Columbo had a mustache?
I have no idea. You're thinking a different detective. You might be thinking. Okay. So Columbo, like I said, was a movie, and they did like a series of movies, very popular, whatnot. And then they're getting this thing like the NBC Mystery Night, where what would happen is every night or once a week there'd be a mystery movie, but there were 4 different detectives that rotate. So once a month you'd get Columbo, once a month you'd get McMillan and wife, once a month you'd get McCloud. McCloud has a mustache, and I think McMillan and wife have his mustache too. And then Barnaby Jones was the 4th one, but that's me guessing. I can't quite remember.
McMillan and wife.
That's the Rock. That's the Rock Hudson one.
That's great.
We need to probably go to the break fairly shortly here, but I do want to ask another question just about the sort of continuity of Columbo, especially since you said you watched a lot on DVD. What is the sweet spot era? Like, because I know the last episode was in like the early 2000s.
2003, which is actually a fun one that has a great solution.
Okay.
The get in that episode is great. I think Noah Wiley is the murderer.
Okay, he's also in the courtroom scene in A Few Good Men.
So there you go.
There we go. It's all coming together.
Besides that, the later movies aren't too good. Because that's when they get weird. I'd actually say the sweet spot is the 70s.
Yeah, okay.
70s Columbos, where you get the really good ones. The 3 best murderers are Jack Cassidy, which you saw, Robert Shaw, if you know him from I Spy. No, I'm sorry, Robert Culp. Robert Shaw's in Jaws. Robert Culp, who is the main guy in I Spy.
Okay.
And he's also in The Greatest American Hero. And then Patrick McGowan, the prisoner. And Robert Culp and Jack Cassidy each did 3. They were murdered 2 times. Patrick McGowan was a murderer 4 times.
That is so wild.
I feel like you wouldn't find that in a show nowadays where you'd have someone
play a different character.
The same actor, different character.
Like I had a friend who like died in one of the Dick Wolf Chicago shows, so she therefore like can't be in any of the others. Which is like she was like a an under 5 or whatever they call it, like when you have like a minor speaking role. And it's like, well, that sucks.
Well, I played I was in the intensive care unit in the pediatric ward in the background of a Chicago med. So I wonder if
that screwed me over once.
Really?
And like I played the background in something, and then this is a while back when I was trying for stuff like this. They had asked me to come in to play like a tech guy. I basically had like one line like, we traced the call or something. And in it, they asked me like, have you ever appeared before? I said, I played background. It's like, oh, never mind. And somebody says, you should have just lied. They would have never have known.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good to know. If I ever go out for that, I will lie.
If you do not speak, claim you have not been in it.
I have not spoken. I was in the background of Chicago Med, and I was in the background of Chicago Fire at like
There were a bunch of bubbling beakers.
Yeah. I was like, and I said, we got this lock to pick. This show did not help my obsession with wanting to learn how to pick locks.
Yeah. In fact, then because you also were at some point, we were talking about a TikTok or whatever, but I was highly suggesting Josiah follow his dream for lockpicking, but then also become a hot deck, cold deck card cheat.
Yeah, I gotta figure out to do sleight of hand. I gotta figure out some ways to make money, and I'm gonna go into close-up magic crime.
These all seem like very lucrative paths.
Lockpicking
and also high stakes
home card game dealing.
Yeah, you know what? People want to get out of their houses. They want magic to be as close to them as possible. I see a hole in the market.
You will catch COVID from my cards. That's how close up this magic will be. I am literally holding a deck of cards right now.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
So Mike stole it from me, but we both have our fidget toy is a deck of cards.
I have a HitchCocktails business card.
What's that?
That's HitchCocktails business card.
That's
the card I had.
Why don't we jump into the break and we'll come back in and we'll play a murder mystery themed game.
Yeah. Let's do it. Here we go.
Yahoo!
Woo!
And we're back.
And I'm back.
Yay.
I don't know if I'm part of we or if I'm my own little unit.
No, yeah, you're your own sovereign nation.
Yeah.
The hosts and the guests are back.
The hosts and the guests are back.
I have a game this week, and not to go back to the well of I really love that one British show, but I also really love this other British show. And we haven't played this in a while, but there is a British game show for your benefit here, CJ, called Only Connect. Are you aware of it?
I'm afraid not. You're going to have to talk me through it.
I feel like you would probably like it too. Are you a riddle person? I know you're like a mystery person.
I am a riddle person. A riddler, if you will.
Yeah. So Only Connect is a game show or as they would call it there, a quiz show in Britain. And the sort of central premise for how it works, there's 2 teams of 3, and each team, one at a time, is given up to 4 words or phrases, or in some cases it's like clips of music or pictures, and they have to say how those 4 things are related. And a lot of times they're just completely ungettable. Like it is so hard. And there's an added piece that is a lot of it hinges upon being British and knowing British things. So there's a wealth of it on YouTube, and I love watching it on there. But in terms of ones that would even be gettable, it's probably like maybe 60%, and the rest require you to know British stuff. And then of that 60%, your chances are low because they're always very hard. But they're very lateral thinking. That's the first round. You have to say how the 4 things are related. The second round is the same sort of format, but you're only given 3 things, and you have to guess what the 4th one will be because they are not only related, but they're sequential. And then there's other sort of like differing kind of games within the game that are based on this kind of connection premise. But again, it's called Only Connect. And what I've done for our game this week is I have like 6 different questions. They're all in the murder mystery theme. Now, Josiah and I play this frequently, but it's usually just the two of us, and it's just sort of like, here's trivia questions, Josiah, guess them. But in this face-off version, we'll do point values the way they do in the show. So in the show, teams are given 1 of the clues at a time, up to 4. If they can somehow manage to guess how the 4 things are related by only seeing 1 clue, they get 5 points. Okay. If they see 2 clues, they get 3 points. If they see 3 clues, they get 2 points. And if they see all 4 clues and they get it right, they get 1 point. But whenever they guess, that's the amount of clues they get, and then the other team gets a chance to steal for 1 point by seeing all the remaining ones. So
Gotcha.
We'll do our first round, and hopefully that'll clear it up. But the first 3 are all going to be connection, and just, you have to say what the connection is. And then the next 3 will be sequence related. We'll cover those in a second. Let's see. You're the guest, CJ, so we'll start with you.
Great.
I will give you 1 clue at a time, and you have to say how they are related.
Okay. So just to be clear, I can only guess once at any point. So like I can hear 2 and make my guess then, or I can hear 3 and make my guess then.
Yes,
and so
that's
on.
right.
Okay.
And if you get it wrong, Josiah gets all 4 clues and can get up to 1 point. Okay, so your first clue is Linda Drysdale.
Okay. Linda Drysdale. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask for a second one.
Sure. The next one is Harlan Thromby.
These names sound so familiar. Harlan Thromby. It's actually the first name that is more familiar.
Yeah.
All right. I need that third one.
Okay, the third clue now for a total of 2 points. If you get it, is Ransom Drysdale.
Dang it. Okay, I got it. It's
yes.
These are the character in the film Knives Out.
Yes, that is correct. They are Knives Out characters. The 4th one. Do you have a guess of what the 4th one would have been?
I'm gonna get Benoit Blanc.
Yeah. Benoit Blanc. Okay, so let's see. And Josiah gets to go on this next one.
Nice.
Very nice. I only have 3 in each of these sort of categories. So Josiah, you'll get to start on 1 of these, but then you'll get to start on 2 of the next round.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, I'll take the Twisted Flax.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the other thing on this show is like how Jeopardy, every question is like under a dollar amount on the screen or whatever. Their screen, it's just 6 different Egyptian hieroglyphics, and they don't mean anything to the game show other than like, I want the top left square, basically. Okay, Josiah, your first clue is Will Ferrell.
Okay, I'll take another clue.
Robert Downey Jr.
I'm going to say it's actors that have played Sherlock Holmes.
Dang it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is for 3 points.
What was that?
Man, I might have... Well, I thought that was the order of difficulty there, because the next 2 I had... Do you want to guess what the next 2 were?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, he was number 4.
He was number 4. Who is number 3?
Yeah.
Basil Rathbone.
I almost did a whole second one of these of actors who have played Sherlock Holmes because there's so many. Peter Cushing was one of them. No, the third one was Ian McKellen in Mr. Holmes.
Oh, Mr. Holmes. Sure.
Yeah, that
Peter
was,
Cushing is... No, that's in the Hounds of Baskerville, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. We're close here. CJ 2, Josiah 3. No steals have even had to happen yet.
Interesting.
We go back now to CJ in control. Your first clue is Yoda.
Okay. All right. I'm going to need a second clue. There's such a renaissance Muppet that
it could be Columbo.
Yeah.
Okay, the next clue is Ton Wee and Lama Su.
Ton Wee and Lama Su. I have a guess now, but I can't. I'm already behind. Yeah, okay, I'll take another clue.
Okay, number 3 here is Django Fett.
Oh, well, then I take it back. I did. It was not my original clue. No, I need another one.
The last one is Dexter Jetster.
I think characters in Attack of the Clones.
I will give you the point for that one because that is in fact very actually true.
Yeah.
So yes, you now have 3. You're back to tied up here. The thought process I had there was in that movie, that is like the closest Star Wars movie to like a murder mystery film noir, and those are like the people that Detective Obi-Wan has to talk to like find his man or whatever.
That's fair. That's what my thing.
That was sort of a stretch.
I was like, these are characters in Attack of the Clones, but what's the detective thing? I forget that Obi-Wan is in fact playing a detective in that film.
It's so weird because it's like so the like third or fourth thing that movie is.
Yeah. He's also like the worst version of Columbo. Columbo rolls with things, and he walks up and is like, "Oh, you're here for the clones he ordered?" He's like, "What? What are you talking about?" He does not roll with it.
That's right.
Oh yeah. I'm here about that. Please explain it to me.
Yeah, there's that like that. Well, the prequel memes are like abundant, but it gets used all the time of his line, which is, "That's why I'm here."
That's why I'm here.
Okay, so at the end of the connecting round, we are tied up 3-3. Josiah now gets to start the first of the sequence round. So again, I will give you up to the first 3 clues, and then you have to guess what the fourth one is. If you manage to guess the fourth one after only 1 clue, it's 5, and then 3, and then 2, and then for a steal, it goes to the other person. Again, it's only for 1. But, okay, Josiah.
Yes.
Your clues begin with went out to dine.
Okay, another, please.
Okay. The next one is sat up very late.
Another.
The last one that I can give you is traveling in Devon.
Oh man, I have no idea.
This is the type of shit on that show where it's just like fully ungettable.
I actually think I know this. I'm trying to think.
Okay. So
in
Josiah, do you know what the fourth one is?
No.
Or do you have a guess?
I'm going to say dial M for murder.
It is not dial M for murder. So for a steal of a point, CJ, do you have a guess of what the fourth one is?
So can you say them again rapid fire?
Yeah. Went out to dine. Sat up very late, traveling in Devon.
Pick up sticks?
Wow! I am going to give you the point for that. I have chopping up sticks.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, those are... You want to say how they're connected?
They're lyrics, right? This old man? Am I crazy?
They are the 10 little soldiers.
10 little
soldier
from
boys.
Agatha Christie.
Yes. Yeah, from And Then There Were None.
Yeah, I was going through, I was like, what is it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I can only ever remember the Stung by the Bee. Or Stung by the Wasp. I remember.
I can't remember either. I read it last night. And I don't, yeah, right.
It's how they die. And I remember the one had to do with wood. And rhymed with 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that like could not have been closer.
Yeah.
And of course they changed fairly like pivotal words in that poem as it was published and republished. So I'll give you the word there.
And, and offensive words.
Yes. To make it less racist.
Yes.
Okay, so now CJ, you get your own control here.
Okay.
And again, this is a sequence, so you have to guess what comes forth. Here's the first.
Okay.
Jill Roberts.
You do it again. I know this name. But give me another one, please.
Roman Bridger.
Jill Roman Bridger. What is this? Jill Roberts. Yeah, all right. Give me a third, please.
Okay. Mickey Altieri and Debbie Loomis.
No, never mind. It's not what I thought it was. Sorry, I want to sit and think, but I know that's terrible podcast. So I'm just trying to keep things.
If you want, I can rename all of them.
I edit out the stopping and thinking, so it'll make you sound.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Well, then I will stop and think. Listeners just assume that I took an hour whenever I go with my bad solution.
I make me and Mike sound way smarter than we are by editing out all the gosh, what is the?
So yeah, I'll say them again here just for everybody listening. Jill Roberts is the first one. Roman Bridger is the second one. And then the third one is Mickey Altieri and Debbie Loomis.
Now I just realized what I think Roman is, but now I'm not sure what the other names. Because I thought Roman might have been Tyrese's character from the Fast and Furious franchise, but I don't think that's right. Be. No, it's Roman something. Okay, Loomis. Wait, do the order again.
Okay. Jill Roberts, Roman Bridger, Mickey Altieri, and Debbie Loomis.
Loomis! Oh, yes. Okay. So then it would be... what is his name? And what is his name? It's Stu is the other guy, and Loomis, what is his name? His daughter's name is, I don't want to, spoiler. It's Skeet Ulrich's character, and Billy Loomis. It's Billy Loomis and Stu. I can't remember the other guy's name.
Yeah,
I just go with Billy Loomis?
Yeah, you will get the points for that. Josiah, do you remember Stu's last name?
Stu Mocker.
Yeah, no. Stu Mocker. How about this? Because that was worth 2 points, CJ gets 2, and I'll give Josiah 1.
Thank you
for giving the last name. So it's
did you get that faster than that?
6-4.
No, I was right there with you. Although I think Loomis, I was about to get to Loomis because I was thinking like Loomis is a reference to
Halloween and Psycho.
Yeah. And then from there I was reverse engineering and I was going.
As soon as I hear the name Loomis, I'm like somebody's referencing something.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Loomis in Halloween. It's Sam Loomis in Psycho.
Right. Yeah. And I think in fact Dr. Loomis in Halloween, his first name is Sam.
Mm-hmm. Is it?
I think. Because then, of course, to your spoiler point, we've done a Scream 2022 episode. Spoilers for that, but there is a character in that who's also essentially Sam would-be Loomis.
Yeah.
Which, spoiled it for me because I'm like,
Yeah.
She's like, her name's like, her name tag says Sam when we introduce her.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, gotcha.
So those are in descending order from 4 to 1. The Ghostface killer of the Scream movies, which are categorically whodunit films.
Yes, they are. Do you have Culkin's name in 4? Because there's 2 murderers in 4.
I probably should have included that. I forgot about that. Shit.
Yep. There's 2 and 4. 1 and 3, 2 and 2.
It's why 3 is the worst one in my opinion, because they break the formula. It's like, there's only one murderer. You jerks.
I misremembered. Gosh,
I forgot
when
that.
When I rewatched it, I misremembered it and thought that that there was 2 and that the other actor girl was in on it.
I think I read somewhere that was the original intention.
Yeah, and then when she got murdered, I was like, wait a minute, this feels
You're talking about
wrong.
Carrie Fisher?
No.
In Scream 3?
The
character who famously looked like Carrie Fisher.
Yep.
How very Ocean's 12. Okay, last one here goes back to Josiah's possession. Okay, the first clue is study.
Study. Okay. Next
one. The next one is kitchen.
Okay.
Again, this is a sequence.
Yeah, I know. Just gonna do a clock hand.
Go ahead and give me the next one.
The next one is lounge.
Study. Okay, I'm trying to think of what the next one would be.
Study, kitchen, lounge. Now, of course, this might be a bad question too, because it could probably be multiple things, but I have a specific one in my head and a reason.
Oh, what are the other rooms? Study, kitchen, lounge, the billiard room.
And can you tell me why?
I don't know. It's in clockwise order.
I'm not sure that's right. I can Google it, but I have a different reason why. So let's see.
Okay.
Before I Google it, I'll see what CJ's thought is.
Wow, that was actually my thought too. I thought you were going along the game board in like clockwise order. But then all I can remember isn't the kitchen in a corner because it has a secret passage. That's all I can remember. But if you have a different reason,
is it? Oh wait, no. I already said.
I'll make a guess, and then because I want to say the ballroom.
And why?
Honestly, it's because of the same thing of like going down the side, but I thought the ballroom was big and in the middle, so I thought you might have been working your way down to it.
Okay, the sort of clockwisiness that you guys are employing is a very good way of thinking, and I can verify which one is most correct, but my answer is, you were close there, CJ. My answer is conservatory, because it is the 4 rooms that have a secret passage.
Oh, nice.
And in fact, they're paired. It's study, kitchen, lounge, blank. But
I should have thought about that. Yeah. But
because you both sort of employed the same line of thinking, that one's sort of a wash, which means at the end of both rounds, we have Josiah with 4 points and CJ with 6.
Yay! Oh, wait. I'm still happy that CJ won.
Highly recommend you watch Only Connect on YouTube.
Yes. So, okay, let's figure out how Star Wars Columbo...
Well, we need to.
I've got my argument.
Okay. At least this one episode of Columbo for sure.
Yes.
Right.
It is a 70s thing that employs advanced 70s technology to help an unassuming underdog take down a powerful sorcerer.
Sorcerer.
I think you made a great point in that, like, Nazis are the Empire, and there's a Nazi in this, and then we've got magic for the Force and for Jedi. I think Columbo could definitely be Yoda. I also get, like, there's a little bit of an Obi-Wan vibe, because he's just kind of like, or Obi-Wan in like the when he's being a detective for sure, but also in episode 4 when he's just like, oh, I'm just an unassuming old man, I'm not a Jedi, but then secretly he's like, anytime anybody, is there, and also we can go back to some of the classics. There's definitely sneaking around in this. There's
a constant Star Wars trope.
And structurally, in Star Wars movies, we usually meet the villains before we meet the protagonist.
That's a good point.
Star Wars, we know the Empire, we know Darth Vader long before we meet Luke Skywalker. I think we see
That's right.
Yeah, like
very
we
true.
see him off target? No, I guess we don't. Before Luke, I can't remember now. But it's the same thing is at least the same thing with Force Awakens, as we see Kylo Ren before we see Rey.
It's sort of similar to the cold, like there's sort of a cold open in many Star Wars where
of
where
course,
you're
the
right.
opening crawl.
Yeah,
but even more is it's to establish the threat. Like, small spaceship, this is the good guys. Huge spaceship, this is the bad guy. Look how outgunned they are. And it's the same with Columbo. It's like, look how brilliant this murder is. There's no way anyone could possibly defeat it.
And it's the small little detail that actually penetrates the big ruse.
The small detail of the thing, and hubris is
it's
what
like
does it every time.
3 meters wide, like the size of a womp rat.
I used to interrogate womp rats back in.
And it's the same thing where it's ego that destroys the murderers, and it's ego that destroys the Death Star because they think it can't be destroyed.
You could see Jack Cassidy being like, surrender now in our moment of triumph.
Yes, absolutely.
That's hilarious.
I like when he got to show off all his little accents. That was fun.
Oh yeah.
He's like, was it this one by any chance?
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh.
What a strange, like, he was being blackmailed because he was a Nazi.
Yeah.
But at that point, Columbo had already uncovered the fact that he had a German name.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I have a lot of accents.
Like that wasn't not like it was like every Wednesday you'd meet a former Nazi, but like I'm sure in the 70s, like the idea of like meeting someone who like served in the Third Reich today is like unfathomable.
Right.
But like in the 70s, it'd be like, oh yeah, my dad was a Nazi.
I felt bad for his daughter. I was like, does she know?
Right.
This poor girl. And he's just like, also weird to use your daughter as the beautiful woman in your magic show.
Are you saying that he has a daughter, this evil wizard, who's a central character?
Oh, no.
Wow. Yeah, so I will say, in recent... So we did on our 100th episode, we covered 100 topics, and it was like a 2.5 hour long fiasco.
Yeah, it was great.
And by probably topic number 30, if it wasn't a like space adventure movie, we just sort of defaulted by going, I don't know, like a 2.
Yeah.
And recently our I don't know like a 2 has sort of become a 3. We've like tried to make better cases for things, or maybe just sort of like inadvertently we have made better cases for things. So I will reveal my my magician's peek behind the curtain here.
Okay.
I wrote down 3 when you asked us to say that earlier. And I think you've done a very good job talking this up a bit higher.
Okay.
Yeah, I do too, because I wrote down, let me show as well.
Oh, yeah.
Underneath this skull here?
3.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote down 3 as well. So, but I'm kind of feeling a 4 now.
I will say I came in here. I didn't write mine down because I was one who did the challenge. I make the rules. No. I had said a 5. Now, the reason for that is I started a 5 if it is a la Star Wars, and I kind of brought this up in the thing, like, where it's one of those pieces of media that is both referential to the past, but then also creates a genre for the future. And to me, that's the biggest thing Star Wars does. It's like the adventure serials of the 1930s and 40s, but at the same time, it's kind of defining the space opera for the future.
Totally.
And like Columbo, it's like we said, it is the old parlor mystery plays, redone for television, and then creating the TV detective genre.
Right.
So that is for me. I guess I take just a longer look genre-wise at Star Wars and what it does, and then all the little bits and then there's things that take it down. Obviously, that it's not a space opera. But what builds it back up is the good versus evil, the underdog versus the power, the fun bits of the scenery, stagecraft. Like that the 70s audience would be familiar with. So that's why I want to hold it a 5 for me.
Well, and it is episodes.
Yeah.
And they are movies.
Yes, that's true.
I forgot my other big argument is that the first time Peter Falk played Columbo was 1968. The last time he did it was 2003. That's 35 years. And I believe Mark Hamill has him 5 years more for playing Luke Skywalker.
Sure.
But it is one actor playing the same character for over 30 years.
Yeah,
impressive. That's awesome.
That is a good argument.
Well, should we pick a hero? Should we pick an official unit of measurement for our numbers that we wrote down?
Yes.
Because I think I'm going to stick with a 4, because I've been raised up to a 4 for sure by that 5. And
my unit of measure is going to be lapel carnations, because that is the big sort of smoking gun in Etude in Black.
Mine is going to be numbers written underneath things that you pick up to see what they are, because it's a 4.
Preceded by the phrase, "I knew you would pick."
Yes.
And I'm going to say 4. No, wait. One more thing. One more thing to that 4 and make it a 5.
Yes. So I think my gut also is like I'm splitting the difference like between my initial and your high point here. So like 2 4s and a 5 means this like nets out in the like mid 4s, which is like certainly higher than most of our episodes have been lately, except for like Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, Lego Star Wars got pretty high. Well, we did it. We figured out how Star Wars
One
Columbo
more thing
was.
that's been bugging me.
I'm sorry. Fine, I did it. I killed him. Okay. God, leave me alone,
Also,
Mike.
the scene in this one where he goes to like the guy that used to work with him, and he just is walking around his apartment, being like, "Oh, you own this place? Yeah, this is your place. How much is rent? Oh yeah, what's that? What about that fridge? You own that fridge? No, is that hot plate yours? Oh yeah,
Is that hot plate yours?
What about the TV? The TV yours? Yeah, TV's mine. Hot plate's mine. Everything else belongs to the place. Oh yeah. Nice. It's
pretty good.
Asking him about I was like, this is funny. This is good comedy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention that before we wrap up.
Okay.
Because it's time to wrap up. Do you want us on the internet? Because if you do, you can find us at How Star Wars Is It on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us at agoodpodcast@gmail.com. You should check out our Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/How Star Wars Is It. We do a weekly bonus episode, like a half-hour episode. And then we do a monthly film commentary. We've done all 11 Star Wars theatrically released live-action films, and this next one that we're going to do instead of a commentary is we're going to make our own movie of sorts. we're doing an RPG that Josiah is crafting, and I am going to stumble through because I am not terribly versed in RPGs. But you get all that stuff, plus access to our Discord channel for only $5 a month. And that's the Patreon. And let's see, I also have Baby Wants Candy shows coming up. We have the last Saturday in April, which I believe this ought to come out before that.
Yes.
You can see me and Baby Wants Candy at Second City at either 7:30 or 9. And speaking of doing improv and sketch comedy shows at Second City, CJ, do you have anything to plug?
No, I got nothing. No, okay, I'll plug. If you are in the city of Chicago, Fridays, I am in the HitchCocktails, or I'm in I'm part of the cast of HitchCocktails. I'm not in every show, but that's Fridays at 10 at the Annoyance Theater. Same thing with Clued In at Second City at 7:30. Clued In is the improvised murder mystery. That's more in the style of Agatha Christie. And then besides that, I will probably be, because I'm an understudy for Second City, in the Best Decision You've Ever Made at the ETC sometime in May.
Nice.
Before that show's wrapping up, so I'm going to get a few more. And then besides that, I'll look for the Jackbox Party Pack 9 this fall, which will include Roomerang, our first announced game, which is the reality TV comedy game. And then what is announced right here on this show, and then 2 days before it packs. But right here on this show, but really packs is where we announced it. Yeah. I am announcing that Fibbage 4 is coming to the Jackbox Party Pack 9.
You know, like in terms of impressions and eyes on the media, I don't know. It might be a tie between How Star Wars Is It and PAX in terms of making an impression.
Maybe we'll get the first podcast. We'll be the first podcast announced. You know?
Oh yeah, I'm certainly not recording any others.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
One can hope and dream that maybe this will be.
Speaking of May, too, that reminds me, Josiah and I are hosting trivia at the Empirical Brewery May the 4th, extravaganza coming up. So
come out for that. It'll be fun times.
One thing I want to make perfectly clear, too, is I am just the editorial leader on Fibbage 4. We have a lot of people working on Fibbage 4. I'm not even the director or producer. Ryan DeGorgi from Hello from Magic Tavern, the producer there, is actually, speaking of podcasts, the director of that game.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is a fun thing I love seeing in like the credits of those games is like all the Chicago podcast legends.
Yeah.
I've actually done 2 backup voices for Hello the Magic Tavern just because they were finishing up an episode and I was at work
there.
And they were just like, "Hey CJ, can you run in the studio and make goblin sounds real fast?"
The dream.
This is crazy. You're not going to believe this, but I was just doing that.
I've got so many goblin noises ready to go. Don't even worry about it. Well, go check out all CJ stuff. Come see us in person in our flesh bodies over at Second City on the 30th, I believe that is that day. Yeah. It'll be great. But that's it. So, sandwiches to Star Wars. It's about time for Tubby Bye-Bye. So, like we always say, we love you. And may the 4th be with you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
CJ, what do you think as a guest when you hear me say sandwiches to Star Wars, it's about time for Tubby bye-bye? How does that hit you?